In spring of 2022, Indiana's high school assessment for accountability is changing to the SAT. To understand the reasons for this change, let's begin by looking at the history of testing in the United States. In 1965, Congress passed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESEA. This legislation included not only major federal investment in public education across the country, but also included requirements for states to evaluate performance in order to be eligible for these funds. This legislation was reauthorized and updated in 2001 with the No Child Left Behind Act, NCLB. It also created an accountability framework measuring growth between years not only of all students, but also within designated groups of students. The tests now had to be approved by the U.S. Department of Education through a peer review process in order to meet the criteria of the legislation. The 2015 reauthorization of ESEA was the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, a bipartisan bill that transferred more control to individual states rather than resting directly with the federal government. While ESSA provides more flexibility with the states for the goals that students should achieve, the plans to assess those goals must still be submitted and approved by the U.S. Department of Education, again through a peer review process. Under both NCLB and ESSA, high school math and English language arts need to be assessed in one grade level. For Indiana, this has been with the I-STEP test, which was administered in spring to sophomores. The I-STEP Plus was also a graduation qualifying exam, so students who did not achieve a passing score on I-STEP Plus had to take it in their junior and senior years to either pass the test or to qualify for a waiver from that requirement in order to graduate on time. The Indiana General Assembly amended state legislation in 2018 related to statewide assessments. In this new legislation wording, Indiana's elected representatives determined that the high school assessment for mathematics and English language arts would be a nationally recognized college entrance exam. The I-STEP Plus would no longer be given for statewide assessment, and it was being sunset as a graduation requirement as well. In order to fulfill this requirement, the state publicly posted a request for proposals, or RFP. Submissions from interested vendors were reviewed and analyzed. The Indiana Department of Education worked through the state procurement process with the Indiana Department of Administration to find a qualified vendor to administer an appropriate assessment to Indiana high school students. In spring of 2020, the state announced that the winning proposal was the SAT administered by College Board. Which brings us to where we are now, the transition to the SAT for Indiana's accountability assessment. Starting in spring of 2022, all juniors will take the SAT. Those students, the class of 2023 students, will not take the I-STEP Plus during their high school years. The SAT will include the SAT evidence-based reading and writing test, comprised of a reading test and a writing and language test, as well as the SAT math test. College Board has recently removed their optional essay test from the SAT, so that will also not be included for Indiana students. The test will be administered at school during the school day. This single-day administration is a contrast to the multi-day administration students are used to on other Indiana assessments, such as iLearn and I-STEP Plus. It will be a digital test with a paper and pencil option for students who need that for accommodation purposes. Students will take both content areas of the SAT within a single day, though we offer schools with a window of days to provide flexibility. In spring of 2022, this testing will take place between March 2nd and 4th. Schools may split up students into smaller testing groups during these days, testing a third of their juniors on March 2nd, a third on March 3rd, and a third on March 4th if that is what they want. Or they can test all juniors on one of those days. There is a makeup window in April for any students who were unable to test during the March testing window. This administration of the SAT will be paid for by the state. In the fall, we will initiate the registration process, so you do not need to register your school as normal for the SAT school day administration. More information will be coming regarding the registration process, but listed in the slide are a few areas as a preview. All students who participate will be able to have their scores sent to 4 colleges or universities at no additional cost. While the iStep Plus is being sunset, it is still available for seniors next year who need it for graduation requirements. Students are still required to take the state's biology end-of-course assessment when they complete their biology course. Though not a graduation examination, schools are required under both state and federal law to test juniors enrolled in their school. Students who are not on diploma track and who are assessed in grade 10 with the IM assessment are not required to take the SAT as juniors. Aside from this, there is no opt-out available from the SAT for juniors. This includes juniors who have already completed the SAT prior to spring of their junior year. These students must still take the test along with the rest of their class for accountability purposes. Scores obtained on the SAT during a time other than the statewide testing window will not count for the school's accountability requirements. Schools are expected to test all diploma track juniors, and juniors who do not attend school for the purpose of avoiding testing are considered truant. The situation should be evaluated and, if needed, any necessary discipline implemented at the local level. Schools should work with any students who are absent during a testing day to make up the test, either during the remaining days in the main testing window or during the make-up window in April. The accountability participation calculations include only students who have been enrolled in the school for 162 days of the school year. If schools have a 95% participation rate from these accountable students, they are considered to have met their participation goal. Since the SAT is an accountability assessment for Indiana and not a graduation qualifying exam, we do not offer retest opportunities as we have done with the iStep Plus in the past. If the student's result surpasses the benchmark, the SAT score can be used for their graduation pathway requirement 3, but if not, they can fulfill that requirement through another available means. After the SAT is given in spring of 2022, IDOE and College Board will go through the process of setting cut scores. This takes place after Indiana students have taken the SAT statewide, because student performance data is the information used to drive the cut score designation. Teachers and other educational experts from around the state are brought in to perform a detailed analysis of the content present on the SAT. Based on that analysis, they make a determination of what performance on the SAT provides evidence that a student is proficient in the Indiana academic standards. This process is known as a standard setting, since it sets the standards of proficiency for the test. After this process has been completed, the cut score recommendation of the standard setting committee will be presented to the Indiana State Board of Education for approval. Both the Standard Setting Committee of Educators and the State Board of Education will be bound by the wording of the governing legislation. The Indiana Code includes a requirement that the proficiency benchmark, quote, may not be lower than the National College Ready benchmark for that particular exam. This data from spring of 2022 will then provide a new baseline proficiency rate for schools. It would be invalid and inappropriate to compare it to previous proficiency rates, which were based on a different test given at a different grade level, iStep Plus at grade 10 instead of SAT at grade 11. Future analysis of annual yearly growth will then be in comparison to the spring 2022 SAT data moving forward. We will be sending out more information about the transition to SAT in the weeks to come. Check out the Indiana Department of Education's high school assessment website for links to these videos and to other resources. If you cannot find an answer to your question, please reach out to us by either email or phone.